Welcome to She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting. We're your hosts, Nancy McClelland
and Questian Delka.
And every episode, we're digging into the real experiences, challenges, and unspoken truths of life in this profession.
Because if you've ever felt like you're the only one, you're not, and you shouldn't have to figure it out alone.
Special thanks to our lead sponsor, Forwardly, and to Tri-Merit's Bridging the Gap Conference and their unique CPA podcast with Randy Crabtree, who announced our podcast back in April. They're helping us bring these conversations to life, enabling us to share out loud what everyone's thinking, but no one's saying.
Today's episode is a special kickoff celebration of season 2. Not only are we recording live from Bridging the Gap, as Nancy mentioned, in Denver, but we also have a special guest with us, Erin Pohan of Upkeeping LLC. Thank you, Erin, for being here and for moderating the session with us. Erin runs the WAVE conference for women that I was recently at. It was incredible. It's for women in bookkeeping, accounting, and finance. And I think it was, along with Bridging the Gap, one of my favorite conferences of the year. Just incredible.
I have massive FOMO from not being able to be there because I have heard so many wonderful things about it. Second only to Bridging the Gap, which is the conference where we are today with a live audience. It's very exciting. Erin is going to be moderating today's recording, collecting and sharing audience questions, as well as those submitted ahead of time by listeners. We're both huge fans of hers. And I have to call out that this is a special anniversary for us because we met last year at Bridging the Gap.
Yeah.
It was because of this conference. And you became one of the founding members of Ask a CPA.
Sure did.
And it was just later that month, I believe.
Yep.
Erin, we are so grateful to you for being here with us to celebrate.
I am so honored to sit here with both of you. And yes, last Bridging the Gap, I knew no one when I walked in the doors. And it is a wonderful time to be a woman in accounting. This last year with not only WAVE Seattle, but now we have She Counts and so many opportunities to really share our voices. So thank you.
Thank you for being here.
And if anybody here is a listener, you already know that we like to launch every episode with a story. And today, Erin is going to share a story with us that I think embodies what we're trying to achieve with She Counts podcast, to make sure that no woman in accounting has to feel alone.
Yes. And so as I mentioned, when I walked through the doors of Bridging the Gap last year, I only knew people from their tiny little circles from LinkedIn. And so walking through those doors, my goal was to actually get to know the people in real life. And so one of those people was Nancy. And there are certain types of very special people when you say, "Hi, I know you from LinkedIn," will turn their entire body to you, look you in the eye with genuine curiosity and say, "I want to know you too." And that's who you were. And so when I left Bridging the Gap, I had not only connected with you, but several other people. I'm sure you all have seen the last 3 days. Like, there's just so much potential for new connections and relationships at this conference specifically. I left and I said, okay, I'm going back to Seattle. Like, how do I meet more people, but not go to Orlando or Las Vegas? Like, I want people now. And so I thought, well, maybe someone just needs to throw the idea of hosting something here in Seattle.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Does Randy know that he inspired that?
I tell Randy every time I see him, I'm like, you need to stop doing these things because you're giving us too big of ideas. I told him that last night. I'm like, stop.
So Bridging the Gap inspired the WAVE conference.
Yes, absolutely.
I had no idea.
Yep. So I went back and hosted an event for women. It was a beautiful evening. We had a few speakers and there was great momentum. So I said, let's do it again. And the power of LinkedIn is so amazing. I threw it out there. People said, yes, I want to attend. yes, I want to sponsor. Yes, I want to speak. And we had an event. And so good news for you. We're doing it again.
Yes.
So,
I saw the news just came out.
Yep. So
what's the date?
May 15th, 2026. So
2 days before my birthday. I think I know I must be coming to Seattle for my birthday.
I definitely need to have a birthday cake ready.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can
Okay.
you jump out of it?
Oh, I would love to jump out of my own birthday cake as long as it's not chocolate. I'm allergic to chocolate.
Okay,
So we're going to have to
noted.
plan
That is
ahead for this.
unfortunate.
This is
That's okay.
exciting.
Vanilla's delicious.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So let's get started. You have questions that have been submitted prior, and then we also have an audience with us who will be submitting questions along the way. So keep them coming because, you know, if we don't have any questions, I don't know how.
What are we going to talk about? Oh, no, there's no way we're going to think of anything to talk
Yeah,
about.
we never do that.
No.
We don't talk.
Okay. So this is the first episode of season 2. So
Yes.
we have a whole season under our belts already.
Yes.
And what I would love to know, it's 2-part, but I would love to know what would you say is the hardest part of just having put having done the entire you're like ready.
Well, you know, it's the hardest part. I'm
Of
like, it
making
is so hard to make this podcast. I had no idea. Mad props to anybody out there who does a podcast. It is so much work. And the thing is that Questian and I were delusional.
No, I knew.
All right.
I didn't want to tell you because then
Then I would say no. She had already been bugging me for 2.5 years to do this. So I definitely would have said no. The thing is, I was delusional because we have Earmark, right? Like Earmark is an amazing podcast production company. And I was like, oh, they're going to do all the hard work. But I didn't realize how big the world of hard work there was. I didn't realize how much effort we were going to want to put into planning and rehearsing and executing each podcast. Just coming up with, we already had the ideas, but coming up with the outline, coming up with the flow, it's like writing a session to present at Bridging the Gap. You know what I mean? It takes many hours to do that and then to rehearse. So that was time consuming.
and we don't do it, like neither Nancy or I do anything halfway.
I wish I did.
Or 3/4 way, or it's like, oh, we're going to do it 150% instead. So
yes. So that has been really time consuming and that's our own quote unquote fault. But we really want this podcast to be the vision that we had for this podcast. And so it takes that much time. But I also didn't realize that I was going to have to find sponsors. That is hard. It is so much work for anybody out there. For example, Erin, for you and your conference, for anybody out there who has to find sponsors, it is not easy. You have to prove your value. And for a podcast that had not launched yet, that's a really hard thing to prove the value, which is one of the reasons we're so grateful to Forwardly, because they just took our word for it. And then social media and marketing. Oh my gosh, it's so much work. We feel behind all the time. Literally all the time. I see some nodding heads from some podcasters in the audience. And so, it's just all a lot more time consuming than I expected. However, and I'm going to turn this over to Questian because she's the one who reminds me.
Oh, of our why. Yeah. Yes. So this is what we're doing it for all of you and all of ourselves, of course, because this is something that we wanted and we didn't have, but for all of the women in our community and trying to bring topics to light that help. I don't know. They're just things that need to be talked about.
Things that need to be said out loud that we're like, maybe if we're lucky talking about them to each other, like in the restroom between sessions at a conference, like, no, let's give them airtime.
Yeah.
And so I will get exhausted sometimes. And she's like, remember our why, Nancy?
Yeah. Why are we doing this?
This is way more important.
And, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say this on a recording that my clients might hear, but I gotta put it out there. I'm like, I just want to do this all of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
We both love it.
I love my clients.
Yeah, me too.
But this and Ask a CPA are my
babies.
Yeah. They're my passions in life.
Okay.
They're
so then
above
that note, what's been the best part?
I think the best part is getting to spend an hour with each other every time we record.
Oh, I did not expect that answer. That is so sweet.
It's like, even, we want to make an impact, and that's been really important too. But I'm like, even if we don't, or even if it didn't resonate for some reason, which, we would obviously hope that it does. Yeah. But even if it didn't, I was like, we get to spend more than an hour, but we get to spend an hour with each other recording, and then all the prep time that we have. And then we really get to dig into these topics too, which are things that have been on my mind and on her mind and are really important to us. And so those are my favorite.
For me, I would say the best part is I did not expect so many people, women that I know, actually, I'm going to say women and men, because I've gotten this from both people that I know and that I'm close to, and people that I don't know at all, and everyone in between. I did not expect so many people to be coming up and saying, when you said this one thing, I'm going to cry. It made me feel less alone. I have a girlfriend I hope she's listening. I know she'll be listening at some point. I love you, girl. You know who you are. She just had her second stroke. And it was a shock. The first one was a shock. The second one was a bigger shock. Everybody here knows Randy's story about that second stroke, right? Mm. So she's in that place right now. And she said, driving back and forth to her doctor's appointments, she listens to She Counts. And she feels less alone. And I'm just like, wow, I don't care how many hours it takes. Mm-hmm. And she's not the only one who said things like that. And it's just hearing people's stories, hearing that something resonated, hearing that maybe we said something out loud that they were thinking but didn't feel comfortable saying out loud. And now they are saying those things out loud to other people.
Yes.
We are giving other women permission to say these things out loud.
Yeah, to unmute themselves.
Yes.
Everybody to unmute themselves.
So that's the best part for me.
And what you are doing is a ripple effect, because you're giving them, you're helping them realize they have permission. And then they can share their thoughts with others more freely and more openly. And that is so important.
And I'll add, sorry, I didn't need to.
No. Yeah.
I will add that Nancy will send me clips, like someone will send an email or they'll send a text message and she'll send it to me. And it's like, I can't say the number of days where it's happened, where it's like, I'm having a really rough day myself. And then someone from the community has sent a note, like what she is talking about, saying this was impactful to me because of XYZ. And I'm like, I needed that today. Yeah. So it's like emotionally so.
Do you remember when Eileen Gilpin, I know there are a lot of bookkeeping buds in the audience represent, she posted in Bookkeeping Buds Slack about what a difference it made for her. Yeah. And about a week later, I posted in Slack, thanking her and a couple of other people who had made a big difference in my life, because gratitude is like that. She was so grateful for what we were doing and how it made her feel less alone. And then her saying the things that she said gave me some energy and some re-inspiration that I needed in a time when I was really, really struggling with what's been going on with my mother. A lot of our listeners know that my mother's recently moved into a nursing home. It's been extremely difficult argument with Medicaid. I am struggling. I'm a struggle bus big time. And she said that. And I was like, wow. So she's thanking us for doing what we're doing. But then the note that she wrote totally changed my week.
That was a really unexpected element of doing the podcast that is really meaningful that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely didn't either. Yeah. So for me, that's the best part.
What has it felt or looked like to really put yourselves out there so publicly?
Terrifying.
And I mean, you even already said it, like there's this fear of saying the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, I'm being recorded,
yeah.
How do you work through that?
I mean, I have gotten to the point where, and we have an episode, it's Do It Anyway. And so it's like, it's terrifying and I'm going to do it anyway. And you know what? I accept the fact that I'm going to say something wrong. I'm going to say something that's going to piss someone off. They're going to get upset. I'm here to ruffle feathers, quite honestly. And it's terrifying to me to do that because I'm a hardcore people pleaser, as she knows. So I think it's just reminding myself that of the why and what the end goal is and what we're doing here and the reason that we're doing it, and accepting the fact that I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm gonna say something wrong, and that's okay. And I can apologize, and when I do, I probably already have at some point. But
well, okay, I'm really glad you ended with that, because it's a perfect segue into mine, which is very different. I can't stand the fact that Questian apologizes all the time. It makes me insane. This happens in podcast recordings. It happens in texts. It happens on Slack. The bookkeeping buds know. It makes me crazy, because I'm like, stop apologizing for existing. Girl, you're doing an amazing job. We don't need to apologize. We apologize when we've done something wrong and somebody needs to know that it was unintentional and that you recognized it. That's when we apologize. So I've got a thing about this. I don't have the kinds of fears about saying the wrong thing, because I have been saying the quote unquote wrong thing since I learned to talk. I talk a lot. I'm out there. I'm a big personality. And so I know I'm going to say the wrong thing. And if I said something that hurt someone, I will sincerely apologize later on. That can happen. But for me, the terror is that there are a lot of people out there. I don't know a lot. There are some people out there who think I'm too much. I'm intimidating.
This is going to be an entire podcast.
This is going to be an entire podcast about this. I have heard that I'm intimidating. I have heard that I am stage grabbing, mic grabbing, that I'm attention seeking. And this has been really painful to me, because I don't feel that way. I feel like whatever the person on stage said resonated with me and I want to participate. I feel like that person over there did something amazing and I want to make sure that the world knows about it. I want to make sure that the person who was scared to come to the conference the first year knows that they are loved and that they have a voice and that they have agency and that they have choice. And I want to help give other people the microphone too, right? That's how it feels to me. But I know it does not look like that to everyone else. I have heard it plenty, and I've been in therapy for it because it is hard. And so I'm terrified that people will listen to this and they'll be like, who does Nancy think she is? Just grabbing that mic again. She doesn't have enough airtime. She had to start her own podcast. And I don't want anybody to think that we started this for any other reason than I needed this when I was younger. I need it today. I need to feel like I'm not alone, and I don't want anybody else to feel alone. And I am terrified that they will think I did it for self-serving purposes.
One of the speakers spoke on perspective, and there's going to always be two different perspectives. And you just focus on the voice of, how about my experience of, you were the reason I'm back at Bridging the Gap this year, and I walked in the doors and I know people. Because you speak up and you share. So
I got to find those things and hold on to them when the other parts happen. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, if this isn't putting you on the spot, was it you that were terrified to come? Yeah. Well, I'm going to share a story with you. I've shared this on the podcast before too, but I was in that place as well. It was Intuit Connect, their QuickBooks Connect, when it was QuickBooks Connect, like three years ago. And I was terrified to show up because I was scared to talk to anyone. And I just was like, I don't want to walk up and say hi. And I'm so introverted, which this seems absurd probably that I'm saying that, but I was so introverted and terrified. And now I get on stage and I teach and I speak and we have a podcast. And I don't know what your reason was for being scared to come, but whatever it is, I hope that you are happy that you came. And okay, good.
I will say, questions for that first conference that she went to, that first QuickBooks Connect. Her goal was to speak to one new person. One.
Yeah. She's right.
And
I did.
she
I
did.
was say, I think it happened.
It happened.
I
Yeah.
think you did
Yeah,
it.
I think it did.
I also love it because you made my night last night. You know, you remembered a really silly conversation we had, and that was really touching to me. So, like, you came and you are affecting others.
And
too.
for the listeners who are not watching the video on this,
Yeah,
we're
behind the
gesturing to some wonderful audience members here
Yeah,
who are
that's
here to
right.
support us.
And
But
we're
also
speaking
you
to
watching.
some of the. Yeah.
Okay, so have you, well, we kind of covered this, but maybe there's more to it. Have you gotten any really compelling responses from people about the podcast? Also, any complaints?
I haven't gotten any complaints, but I think what stood out to me most is the number of women who feel comfortable walking up and just telling me their story. And I love it. It has been another one of the really surprising things is that all of these, I knew already that there were so many women that had similar stories, like Me Too stories, right? And just hearing the situations and the stuff that everyone is dealing with and how common it is, I was not exactly expecting that part. So I don't know if have we had any complaints?
I mean, I haven't heard any public complaints yet, but that doesn't mean that we're not ruffling some feathers.
5-star reviews all over.
We'll find out. And to that end, please, people in this room and listeners, wherever this finds you, please do go in and rate She Counts on whatever platform you're listening on it. And please leave a review because Zach and David and Blake over at Earmark and Chrissy, they all say that is the way new listeners find it, is if it gets promoted to them because it's highly rated or because the comments that are being left are something that the algorithm says, oh, you should listen to this. So it truly helps us find new listeners.
All right, we all have homework if we haven't done it. So we're going to switch the topic a little bit. Why haven't you done an episode yet about women's menstrual cycles and how menopause or premenopause affects women in business?
Because I didn't find out until Scaling New Heights that this was the number one request. When women come up and they say, I have an idea for an episode, I would say 80% is we need to talk. 80%. I'm serious. I see some reactions in the audience. 80% say we need to be talking about menopause. We need to be talking about perimenopause. We need to be talking about the hormonal changes that happen when you get pregnant, when you're postpartum. We need, like, hormones are number one.
And those hormones also shift. I have ADHD. We did an ADHD panel recently. It really amplifies and makes ADHD so much more difficult for women. And that's applied to our work and everything that we're doing. So we're going to do one.
Yeah. We're not just going to do one episode on this. I think we will start with one episode. And as happens with most episodes, we get partway into planning it and we're like, oh, we've got 6 episodes of material here. And so we got to move into a later episode. So I think you're going to see a series.
Okay, great. I look forward to that. Okay, so this is a question that we actually asked during our live Wave Seattle podcast that I loved so much, and I really wanted to get your perspective on this. Being in the same industry in so many facets, how do you balance collaboration over competition in your friendship?
This is such a hard question. When I saw that you had added it to our list, I had to take a deep breath because, and this is something that Question and I we did not rehearse our answers to these. We were trying to keep it
I'm
raw.
like, what's she about to say?
What's she about to say? There are times, and I have it listed as one of our topics for a future episode. There are times I feel envy, like jealousy. Real, true. I remember the first time you went to Scottsdale. Yeah, for you. And I texted her and I was like, how did she get invited to this and I didn't get invited? I've been in the industry for over 20 years. Why is she more popular than I am? How does she know all the cool kids? I don't know the cool kids. The cool kids think I'm a nerd. And this comes from somebody who legitimately like got beat up in the locker room in school when I was younger, and had a whole students against Nancy Skinner Aucklander thing when I was a senior in high school. I've got some trauma stories. Okay, somebody else having something that I want and don't have is hard for me, and I will tell you, saying those words out loud in front of this room of people is a lot harder than saying that recording the podcast at my desk at home. But I am being very real and very vulnerable. I am shaking a little bit because that is hard to say. Thank you. But it's true. And so I talked to my therapist about it. I'm like, why is Questian more popular than I am? How come I don't have what she has? What can I do about it? I don't want to be angry or resentful to one of my very best friends. And on the other hand, I feel like she was afraid to speak out loud when she was a contractor of mine. She was scared on Zoom calls. I was the one who said, you need to take theater public speaking. I was the one who, helped her, calm her down before her first 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 webinars or sessions still, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm that person. Why?
I just did the other day when
I
I moderated a panel for the first time, and I was like, I'm just going to go hide in my room for the entire day before it starts.
And I was like, no, we're going to rehearse together, and I'm going to give you all of my tips on panel moderation. And she killed it, by the way. For anybody who was in that ADHD panel, that was amazing. She just killed it, did a great job. So here I feel so accomplished, which I think can make us feel entitled, or can at least make us feel like, why have I been working toward this my whole life and she's having more success than I am? At least that's your perception. And so I talked to my therapist about it. And because the real problem that I'm struggling with is, why do I feel this way? I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to have envy. I don't want to feel that way about anyone, least of all, one of my very best friends. And she said, Nancy, do you want what she has? I said, yeah. She goes, so that's what envy is. Envy is not, emotions aren't inherently positive or negative. It is just a fact to say, I wanted to be invited to Scottsdale. I wanted that. How is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. It's just real. So I texted her and I said, hey, what's the Scottsdale thing? How come I didn't get invited? Did you not invite me? Do you know somebody who doesn't like me? And she explained to me, she's like, it was my first time getting invited and I was really nervous to be there at all. And I just felt so grateful and I wasn't going to like rustle any feathers and I wasn't going to say it. And I was like, oh girl, thank you so much for telling me that. She explained who organized it and what it was all about and everything like that. And I was like, oh. So saying out loud to her, I have envy, it changed everything.
Well, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what I was invited time.
I don't think anyone did.
Yeah.
She's like, I did.
Scott's Dazzle's a thing now. I still haven't been invited,
Michael
just so
is
we're
going to
clear
kill
on
you,
that.
So.
That's fine. It's okay. I'm still jealous. That's normal. It's okay. Jealousy doesn't have to turn into resentment.
Yeah. Wow. Do you have?
Of course,
Yeah.
And I think the way that I deal with it is I am genuinely, I just feel genuinely happy. And I just feel genuinely happy for you when you have these incredible accomplishments. I mean, look at how many speaking engagements you book. Look at when we were trying to get sponsors, she's just like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like, I'll talk to this one and I'll talk to that one. And I'm like, how did you do that? I don't know. And of course, like, I'm jealous. And I'm like, I wish I could build the relationships that you do, that, that you're able to, where you're able to get that done. But then I just watch her and I'm like, I want to be able to do that. And so it's like, she's like, oh, I go and I just talk to everyone and I take pictures and like, I'm just building these relationships. And so what did I do?
So Questian ended up going to engage Wave, Scaling New Heights, Bridging the Gap, going to all of these conferences, handing out She Counts pins, and going vendor to vendor to vendor, introducing herself, telling them about what we're doing.
That was terrifying, by the way.
That's terrifying for me. I also want to make it clear that it's not like that is a comfortable space for me to be in. It is very, very hard to talk yourself and your own projects up. But I was lucky enough that I genuinely like people and am curious about them and happened to build relationships over the years. You can do that too. Not just you, Questian, not just you, Erin, but everybody in this room and everybody listening. Lead with curiosity. It's something we learned at Reframe last year for anybody who was attending that conference. Lead with curiosity. And people love it when they can tell that you're doing that genuinely.
I was going to say, and what I learned from that experience, which I did post this on LinkedIn, it's kind of funny, is Blake, who is part of Earmark.
Blake Oliver's.
Yeah. He said, I'm going to be there. Let's go walk around. We'll meet everybody. We'll hand out pins. It'll be great. And so we did that. But we're both introverts. So we didn't hand out hardly any pins. And instead, Nicole Davis is like, let me show you how this is done.
Yes.
And then
everyone needs an extrovert.
Everybody needs an extrovert. And I said, next time, note to self, Nancy gets that assignment.
Yay.
I think that's what makes your duo such a beautiful balance is the extrovert introvert combo that Nancy brings things out of you.
Yes.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Questian brings so much out of you as well. And then together, you guys are just an unstoppable power force.
I love you, Erin. Thank you.
Well, we have so many questions to get to. And I see some of the audience questions coming in too. So maybe we'll do these a little bit faster. But this one is maybe a selfish question. And I know we have some experts around here, but I went through a really hard season of burnout about 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Going through burnout when you don't invite others in is very lonely. And very hard. And I know we talk about the importance of community. And I want to just make sure everyone remembers, when you are going through those hard times, burnout, whatever it is, bring others in. But my question is, when you're going through burnout and you need to reignite some excitement for the business, how did Stella get her groove back? How do you push through those phases and find your spark again?
I have an answer for this one. And my answer is Lynette. Where's Lynette? Right there.
Lynette Osconnell, who listeners may remember from, she was the first guest on our podcast.
That's right.
And she is the Burnout Bestie on Instagram. So give her a follow.
That's right. So I learned something very, very important from her in that episode. And that was that neither Nancy or I should be giving anybody advice on this topic ever.
Ever. Do not listen to us.
Lynette's your person.
Yeah. I follow at Burnout Bestie on Instagram. That is really all I have for you. I need to learn to start saying no. I said no once recently. I was really proud of myself. So at this conference, Bridging the Gap, I'm on the advisory board. I did 2 presentations, and a live podcast recording. And they asked if I would moderate the panel. It was my good friend, Tori McKee over here, asked if I would moderate the panel on ADHD. And I gulped because of course I want to say yes. I love Tori. I love this conference. I want to, and actually she tricked me because she had Randy text me to say, would you do this? And I start to say no to Randy. And he goes, Tori wants you to. Oh my God. And I remembered the podcast that we recorded with Lynette. And I took a deep breath and I said, no, I think I'm already stretched too thin at this conference. And also, I think that panel would be best moderated by someone who has ADHD. I happen to know someone. She's my co-host. And she did an amazing job with it. So I did say no once.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that.
It worked in my favor.
And it worked in her favor. That was great. So I don't have any answer for you whatsoever.
You guys have no idea how relieved I am that you both also don't have it figured out. I'm also relieved that there is an expert in the space, and also I live by you, so let's go get some coffee.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
new networking. Yeah, I'm sorry for the audience that we don't have anything for you on that one. We really don't.
We have an episode that's out.
We have a whole episode on it with lots of resources and great stuff in the show notes. But we had her on the show very selfishly because we need help.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one is also a very selfish question, but it is the concept of who does she think she is? And the voices that we tell ourselves when we try to do something big, when we try to start a podcast or create your own conference. like
For example,
the audacity.
yes.
And those are the voices that are in, I'm sure I can speak for both of you, but in our heads, when we actually push through and do it and realize it has helped so many other people for good. But how do you push through that? Who does she think she is?
I have a quote. So I mentioned that I get that. I have gotten that from enough people that it is an abject terror of mine that people will think that of me. And so I have a mantra. If you listen to the podcast, you know that Questian and I both have mantras. She's got Post-it notes all over her
my monitor. So
Yes.
yeah, computer monitor.
I have
Not pretty.
I have digital Post-it notes on this laptop right here that we're recording on. I have digital Post-it notes on it, and one of them is by Marianne Williamson. And I'm trying to remember the exact quote. It's when we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So when I start freaking out that somebody thinks this or that or the other about me, I try to remember that quote, that what I'm doing is hopefully empowering others.
I think for myself, okay, first of all, the ADHD brain, I'm an EDM fan, and all I can think of right now is an Enema song. I can't sleep because of the voices in my head right now. So remind me of the question because
Oh, the number of times in recording this podcast where we literally have a Google Doc in front of us that has the flow, the bullet points that show, and we'll be partway through and she'll have it on the screen in front of her and we'll be like, Zach. And by the way,
to cut it right
yes,
now.
Zach, don't cut this. We're saying that because we're calling out your name. Zach is normally what we say when we need to pause the recording. And I am just learning so much like compassion and strategy of having ADHD, a beloved ADHDer in my life.
Okay, so
So the question is, how do you get over the thoughts that you are maybe telling yourself of who does she think she is?
Yeah, that was one of my fears when we started the podcast, but I also had experiences when I was young with getting bullied, and I remind myself that I've pretty much heard it all. When I was in middle school, I'm like, I've heard it all. I don't like hearing it. Words do hurt. I don't want to have people make comments that would make me feel that way. But, and that goes along with imposter syndrome also. So there's an element, and I do suffer with that. Just did a panel on imposter syndrome at Scaling New Heights recently as well. And, so there's always those like self-questioning moments. So it's a two-part thing, like, concern that others are going to have that view of me. And then I kind of sometimes have that view of myself. But when it comes to dealing with it, and what I have determined is I was bullied. I've had people say horrible things to me. I've had trauma. Like, I've gotten through all of it. So if they want to go for it and they want to, it's a reflection of them, not me.
Oh, God, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I needed this therapy session today.
Yeah.
I need to add we have an episode planned on imposter syndrome. I recently wrote a talk on imposter syndrome for Theater of Public Speaking that is a 13-minute talk that I'm going to turn into a session at one of the conferences at some point. I have a couple requests about imposter syndrome. One, Questian, you just said you suffer from it.
Yeah.
Is it a disease? Are you the only person who has this horrible disease?
No, and I'll ask, so for the listeners who are not watching the video and can't see everyone, who in the room has imposter syndrome? I asked the same question when we did the session at Scaling, and like pretty much everyone.
Okay, so here's the thing. If literally everyone in this room raised their hand, then is this a syndrome that we have, or are these just imposter feelings? The way we feel jealous sometimes, the way we feel happy sometimes, the way we feel depression sometimes. No, it's not a syndrome, okay? Nobody needs to be medicated for something that literally everyone in the entire universe has, except for those weirdos over there. They're the ones who should be medicated for not having any self-awareness whatsoever that maybe they can't do everything in the entire world. Okay, so that is we're going to talk about this some more, but I just had to.
No.
Okay, you guys, I looked. We have 13.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
The ones
in
that
here. I know. I'm like, okay, sorry for
All
being
right.
selfish. I got my answers, but
13 questions, 15 minutes.
I wanted to hit Post-it notes and mantras. And what got me through hosting a conference was a quote. I don't even know where it came from. Maybe it just fell from the sky. But it was, I would rather be underestimated than feel insecure.
Oh,
And that is what
I love that.
made me push through.
I would rather.
Be underestimated than insecure,
That's amazing.
than feel insecure.
Yeah,
hmm
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got, first
Rapid
of all,
fire.
one of these is not a question, but it says, Nancy, people are just jealous because they don't have the courage to do what you do.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
I'm just going to cry back there and crawl under the chair. Thank you to whoever. Thank you.
All
to whoever
right.
said that.
You ladies are both so authentic. Do you have any advice you would give to someone on a journey to stop dulling their shine?
To stop dulling their shine. Yes, I have some thoughts. If you asked that question, then you're pretty amazing. You're a pretty amazing, self-aware person who has something to say. You have something to say. You have a story. You have lessons. And one of these days you're going to do, as my mentor, Misty Mejia, says, you're going to be able to speak from the scar and not from the wound. You matter. You have agency. And if you recognize that your story will help others, hopefully it'll give you that courage that you need to breathe through the fear of what somebody else is going to think, the fear, and any of the fears. Actually, I'm just going to say fear. It'll give you the courage to breathe through that fear and do what Questian says and come out on that other side. Shine brightly because others need you to shine brightly. If you dull that shine, you rob all of us of the opportunity to hear your voice.
Well, and I would say that shine has probably been dulled by somebody else. And find people to surround yourself that see the best in you, that will help you shine, and not the ones who will cut you down and, make you feel bad or question yourself, because there are people out there who do that. So, I mean, it's so finding other women and other community who will build you up is so important, but not everyone will do that. So
thank you to whoever submitted that question.
That's a great
I love
question.
that.
Great question. Okay. Do you fight body image issues? And if so, how does that affect your business or willingness to put yourself out there?
Oh, girl. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to answer this because I will say, and maybe this is going to be the wrong thing, but like generally I'm a pretty thin person, right? And so one of the bullying that I actually got when I was young was you were anorexic. You don't eat enough. You're, over and over, like got made fun of. You have, giant bug eyes. And so, yeah,
Because you're too thin.
I was too thin in their mind. Yeah. But it was just, I ate.
I resonate. I have a vivid memory of walking down the hallway in high school, minding my own business, and a girl just saying, "Girl, you need to eat a cheeseburger."
I've gotten that comment before too.
I have never gotten that comment.
And I'm like, rude. I do. But I think it comes from that. But then it's also, I have had, and I always reiterate this first because I want to make sure that it's clear that I've had some really, really amazing male mentors, but I've also had some men who are leaders in my professional life who have felt like it was acceptable and allowable for them to comment on my body. And you're eating that, XYZ, you're going to gain weight, or you are,
WTAF. I was stunned that anybody would ever say that when she told me that, and I've heard it from other women too. I never had that happen to myself, but that is absolutely amazing.
It's been, I can think of 3 times that it's happened to me where a man in a superior position to me has made comments about my body at work.
That is absolutely amazing. I have a very different experience. Nobody's ever told me to eat a cheeseburger. I used to be 20 pounds heavier than I am. And I also had teeth that were very janky all over the place. And I got comments about my weight, and I got comments about my teeth. And it's been really hard for me to find that place where I can tell myself I'm getting my teeth fixed because otherwise I was going to lose one of my bottom teeth, right? Like I'm doing it for health, and I lost weight because I'm doing it for health. And there's that little voice in my head that's saying, are you doing it for your health, Nancy? Or are you doing it because people make comments about it? I don't know the answer.
It's probably both.
But
honestly,
I don't know who doesn't struggle with body image.
Yeah.
I mean, these two are like gorgeous, thin people, and they struggle with body image, right? I was talking to a good friend of mine, Brittany Brown, and I'm now saying a good friend of mine. I literally just met her at Scaling New Heights a few weeks ago, and we decided within the first 5 minutes of talking to each other that we were like best friends. And I got to see her in Chicago last week, and we hung out together, and we spent the whole evening together. And we're like, yes, we are. This was a match made in heaven. She really struggles with her self-image to the extent that here, this wildly successful, incredible woman who has so much to say, who was giving a keynote at a major conference, 2,000 people, right? Giving a keynote. And she said to me, I'm so scared to get up there on that stage because of what I look like, because she carries some weight. And I was like, girl, people choose to be in that room. Nobody's forced to go to a keynote. They're going because, and they see who's speaking before they go. They see the name, they see the picture. If they don't want to be there, they just won't be there. They won't be in the room.
And
the
good
room,
riddance.
Yes, and good riddance. The people who are in that room are not there to judge you. The people who are there in that room have gone to hear what you have to say, because so you're walking into a supportive crowd of people. And she was like, oh my God. And she told me the next day, she killed it on her keynote. And she told me the next day that she had me in her head backstage before she came out on stage. And it made me feel so good. Literally everybody has body image issues, and it's like imposter syndrome. It's like jealousy and envy. These are normal things.
Yeah.
They're normal things.
I was having the same conversation with someone who's very close to me in this industry just last week. And she was sharing something very close to her. And I said, okay, my teeth are busted. Like, that's what I say to myself. That is my, negative talk. Wouldn't it be interesting if like we all went to this networking event where like instead of thinking about, oh, my teeth are busted as the top, thought in your brain, if you did, that game that's like 2 lies or two truths and a lie.
Yeah.
But like the truths are always so cool, right? Like, oh, I had 2 kids born in Tokyo, like there's cool things about who you are that maybe you need to put in the forefront of your thoughts, instead of the one thing where like, oh, someone's going to see my teeth.
Yeah. When I went recently, I'm so excited that you said this, because I recently was privileged enough to attend the advanced retreat for theater of public speaking, which is an in-person retreat. Actually, Lynette Osconnell was my roomie there. And it was amazing. And one of the things that we did, believe it or not, was we had a makeup lesson, and it was about stage makeup, because we're all presenters on stages of varying sizes, and you do your makeup differently for stage than you would in your normal life or whatever. And it was great. We had all the makeup out. We had I hate dealing with makeup. I just wish I never had to put on makeup.
Those lashes are pretty darn good for him.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am a 1960s style go-go dancer, so I have had to learn how to put on false eyelashes. These happen to have rhinestones on them because we had a big gala last night. So that's pretty exciting. So there we were. We were about to have this makeup lesson, and she gave us mirrors and kits and everything like that, and we pulled them all up. And you want to know the first thing we did in that lesson? She said, look at your face, really study it for a while. What's your favorite thing about your face? And then we had our makeup lesson.
Oh, fun. I love that.
So think about that the next time you put your makeup on.
That's really special. Yeah. Great question. Okay.
How many do we have?
We have a lot.
Okay,
so
let's
maybe
try to rapid fire.
All right.
I tried this at the ADHD panel. It did not work.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, this was a question I was going to ask on this list, but it's here again. So it's meant to be. What advice do you have for someone at the 1 year mark with their own accounting practice, but also maybe like what would you go back and tell yourself at that 1 year mark?
Oh my gosh, I have to answer that. I'm so excited to answer this question. I've thought about it so often, because I think about this not just at the 1 year mark in my accounting practice, but I think about it like, what could I go back and tell my younger self, like my middle school self? Because it's the same answer for both, which is nobody got a rule book. It's not just you who are making it up as you go along. We are literally all making up. We are not only making up what running a practice looks like, we are making up what being an adult looks like. Nobody got a rule book. It's not just you.
Mine's very simple. Trust your gut. Trust your gut always. I remind myself of that all the time, because whenever I do, things always work out.
What insecurities do you still deal with, especially with your businesses?
Ooh, I can answer this one. I'm not a CPA. I don't have my CPA license. It's an ongoing thing. I didn't graduate. I didn't go through a traditional path. I didn't graduate college when I was 22 like everybody else. I went back to school like 3 times, and I finally graduated. But and sometimes it's because people will say things to me like, "Oh, are you a CPA?" And I'm like, "No." So they're like, "Oh, so you're not an accountant?" And I'm like, "No, I'm an accountant. Like I know my shit." But I haven't gotten my license yet. And there's one big reason. Well, there's a lot of big reasons for it. And this is hopefully going to be an upcoming episode too, is that I didn't want to go back to school to get the extra school. I am a mom of a special needs child. I am running a business. I have a podcast, and, going back to school for basket weaving when I have my accounting concentration already seems like a big waste of money and time to me. And so
you've also talked about how much harder school is for you because of your ADHD.
Yes.
Like I would go back to school. I have so many credits that I accidentally fulfilled distribution in undergraduate. I accidentally met the 150-hour for CPA. People are like, oh, did you go back to school to get your master's to get your 150? I'm like, no, I already had 150.
Well, and I love learning, but I only like learning about things that I want to learn about.
I want to learn about all these, and I want you to give me homework. I'm that much of a nerd. So it's very different for each person. And if school isn't going to do it for you, then school shouldn't
That's been
do
a
it for
huge
you.
insecurity for me running my business. And a big part of the reason I went back to school is because I was trying to overcome some of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I told her she was insane. When she told me she was going back to school to finish her bachelor's degree, I was like, you are insane. Why are you doing that? You don't need that education. You're already overworked. You're already like pulled too thin. Why are you doing this? She's like, because
I want to feel better.
Want it.
And to give you an update, this is actually interesting. I got a text message this morning from a colleague in North Carolina, and he said, I just read that they're removing the master's degree from the requirement for your CPA license. So he's like, go get it, girl.
All right. In North Carolina, they're doing that.
I mean, I haven't double checked it, so I don't know. I haven't had time. That was literally a text I got this morning.
Go get it, girl.
Yeah.
Enjoy learning about consolidating foreign subsidiaries, because there's a lot of that on the CPA exam. And I don't know about you, but I haven't seen any little baby foreign subsidiaries running around that need to be consolidated. Okay. That has never, ever, ever happened to me. My insecurity, and the people in this room will laugh, because I'm 53 years old. I regularly speak on major stages. I run my own Ask a CPA community. I'm a co-host of a podcast. I am constantly terrified that people will think I'm a rookie.
That's just
mind blown.
It happens here at Bridging the Gap. You know, I'll be hanging out with Randy or Roman, or it was so funny. Nick Basha was sitting next to me at lunch one day, and we were chatting, and we were talking about pricing for speaking, and how much you're going to charge a vendor, you know, if you're going to speak on their behalf or something like that. And I said, hey, you know, I learned that your pricing was like under my pricing in a particular situation. And I want to make sure you know that you underpriced that, because, you know, it seemed very low to me. And he goes, oh, well, but I'm just getting my start with speaking. It's not like you know, you're a pro. And I was like, I thought Nick was the pro. Right? Like, so I'm still convinced that I am 17 years old and this is the first time I've ever done anything. And I'm convinced everybody else will think that about me. It is ridiculous. I acknowledge it's ridiculous, but it is a real insecurity I have constantly.
What beliefs have you had to shift during your career to get where you are today?
I think I can answer this one. My self-limiting beliefs, but also I've been underestimated my entire life. Underestimated, and that combination with the fact that just the way that I grew up, my parents were trying to make me very humble. And so I lacked a lot of confidence. And so I had very limiting beliefs about what I could do and accomplish. And I have shifted that mentality, and I literally feel like I can do whatever I want to do at this point.
Because you can.
Because I can.
You can, girl.
Right.
I want to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yes. I think the first year or two of running your own firm, and I'm a big proponent for there should be an entrepreneurial accounting course, which I found out there is something being created for.
That is Brittany Brown, actually. Yeah, Brittany Brown. And I think it's Dan Luthi out of Salt Lake City. They are working on a course exactly like that. And I am very excited to say Brittany and I got to talk about this last week when I mentioned that we were meeting up, and I gave her some ideas, and she's like, ooh, we need to talk about this. So I am super excited about that project.
Yes. And one of the topics has to be mindset, because you spend the first few years of trying to figure it out, like you said, and it's just a game.
Total mind.
It's a game of leveling up your mindset. One setback, rejection, failure at a time. And each time you get through that, you are a brand new firm owner or accountant or human being. And that is how you grow.
Yeah. It's a very different, I taught a webinar recently on this topic of transitioning from working in an accounting firm or as an internal accountant and shifting to an entrepreneur. And the one of the most important things, well, there's two in my mind. And the first is always keeping track and revisiting your why. And the second one is shifting your mindset, because being an entrepreneur and running your own business is completely different than working for somebody else. And so accept that you have to shift your mindset and constantly come back to that and keep leveling up.
Yep.
Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Thank you to Erin for the wonderful work that you did moderating this. We'll wrap up by saying,
we would like to ask the listeners to follow She Counts Podcast LinkedIn page and join in on the conversation by sharing underneath the episode, season 2 kickoff celebration. What is one thing you most feel women in accounting need to hear?
and before we sign off, I want to leave you with a quote by our host at the Bridging the Gap conference, Randy Crabtree. He mentioned in the keynote that his father said you can do anything that you set your mind to. And Randy decided to update that. He gave a very compelling, absolutely beautiful. We had Kleenex at every table because we needed it. It was so, talk about somebody who speaks from the scar and not the wound, about the lessons that he learned and making everybody's lives better because of it. He edited his father's quote to say, you can do anything that you set your positive mind to, because we have control over our own mindsets. So Randy, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here with us on She Counts, the Real Talk podcast for women in accounting.
If something in today's episode hit home for you, well, that's exactly why we're doing this.
So you feel seen, heard, and never alone.
Remember that you can get CPE credit for listening at earmark.app. Links to that and any other resource will be in the show notes.
And please subscribe. And as Nancy mentioned earlier, leave us a review, because that is what helps people find the podcast in the first place. And also share with another woman in accounting that you feel needs to hear what we're saying.
Many thanks again to our amazing moderator, Erin Pohan.
guys.
Thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. As well as Randy Crabtree, Tri-Merit, and the Bridging the Gap Conference.
Yeah. Woo.
Special thanks to our live audience and to everyone who turned in questions. We're so glad you could join us today. Give yourselves a hand.
And we will see everyone again in 2 weeks.